Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Thinking Like a Bank, where we show you how to think like a bank by applying the same strategies and principles that banks use to help you find more financial freedom in your life. I'm your host, Sierra Ibrahim. With us today, I have a special guest. His name is Moshe Grunhut. Our podcast usually talks about personal finance, taxes, building wealth, generating passive income, and investing in real estate. However, today's episode is more about marketing and brand awareness. If your career or business relies on marketing, then I think you will enjoy this episode, which is heavily focused on marketing using LinkedIn. Today's guest is Moshe Grunhut. He is a life insurance agent with New York Life. In under 2 years, he has been able to help hundreds of families and business owners get the financial protection they need. He focused on getting people the information they need to make the right decisions. Moshe has used LinkedIn to bring in over half of his business, generating consistent inbound leads by utilizing the platform. Moshe, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I've been, the way I met you was pretty interesting. So we had a lot of mutual connections, and I've been seeing your posts, your posts get a lot of like traction, like they get a lot of likes, a lot of views and comments. And I was like, who is this guy? Researched you and found, like that you're doing really well as a life insurance agent with New York Life. And it appears that you're generating a lot of business from LinkedIn. Before we jump into that, do you mind telling us more about your background and how you got into this field?
Sure. I stumbled into it a little bit. No one grows up wanting to be a life insurance agent. I don't think so, unless maybe their parents are. But I was looking for something. I was doing property management at the time. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. So I was just looking, lukewarm, looking for something else. And then I saw a listing for it. I called the guy. We set up a Zoom call. This was, during COVID. And then we set up a Zoom call for that night. I had no plans on taking it. I literally told my wife before the Zoom, I'm like, I don't know why I'm wasting my time with this. And then by the end of the meeting, I was taking the job. So, my manager did a good job, but I liked what it had to offer, career-wise. There's a path to success, and it spoke to me, and here I am.
Awesome. And it looks like, so you're a New York Life agent, and then you attract a lot of your business, or you generate a lot of your business using LinkedIn. Now, who introduced you to that marketing method, or how were you introduced to that marketing method?
So when you join the industry, or any financial part of any part of the financial industry, they just tell you get on Facebook, get on LinkedIn. Uh, you know, LinkedIn spoke to me more because once I hopped on, I saw some people I knew, and it was more focused on, well, less focused on the things that other platforms focus on. So I, started trying it out a little bit, just, commenting, observing other people, which was a really big thing. And then I realized it just was something that fit. And I started, slowly getting into it more and more, and it's still slowly building up and building up. And it's just been that way ever since I started.
And did you take any courses on like LinkedIn marketing, or like hire any coaches or mentors to help you like learn how LinkedIn marketing works?
No, so I didn't definitely no courses. The company does recommend certain methods and stuff. I tried them in the beginning, don't really love them. A lot of it has to do with, the canned generic kind of posts and methods to messaging people. It wasn't working for me because it was too corporate in a way.
Mhm.
And so I learned by observing others. That was the biggest thing for me. I never had an actual coach or anything like
Mhm.
that, but I had a lot of people that I, still remember, specific people that I watched their content and the way they engaged with other people on LinkedIn, and learned from them and tried to adapt certain parts of what they did, not copying necessarily, but like just taking little tidbits of like, oh, I like this style, this, the way they message, the way they post, the types of posts, all that stuff. I just learned by watching. I think that's the best way to learn about LinkedIn.
And then what's the difference as far as the way the content is written, the difference between a good post and a bad post? Like, what are some components that go into making a post attractive or likable?
So LinkedIn is a little different than other platforms where it's not all about the content. On TikTok, I'm not active on it, but it seems like any post or any video has the potential to go viral in a sense, if it's good enough, if it hits a certain chord with an audience. On LinkedIn, a lot of it has to do with the foundation that you lay down. So that can be the consistency of your posts in the past and your overall presence of commenting on other people's posts and interacting with other people on the feed and having just connections that you actually know. So it's not as focused on the post itself. That being said, a post that's relatable in any sense will do better than a post that's not relatable.
Mhm.
So if you're posting specifically about something financial, then it will get not as much engagement as other topics because very few people will feel that it applies to them. But if you post about a very generic topic, just something that people always make fun of is if you post about coffee,
Yeah,
it'll get a lot of engagement because everyone relates to coffee.
yeah,
So on a basic level, the more relatable it is, the more engagement it should get.
gotcha. And I like your posts a lot. They're really like intriguing and creative. How do you come up with these ideas? Is it every day you're coming up with them, or every week, and you lay it out for the week? Tell us more about like the ideas that come behind the posts.
So the ideas are the toughest part. It took a while for me to get into a groove with that. The method I use is, sorry, I whenever I have an idea, anything, and over time I got used to what is a potential idea and what's not. I put it in a note in my phone, just the concept, and then when I have some time, I'll sit down and write it out into a full post. If I have a day, let's say I have a half hour available, maybe I'll go through that list on my notes of all my ideas and be able to write out 4 or 5 of them and then have posts for a week. And then, of course, if there's something, that happens in my regular day to day client story, a story about what I do or an experience I had, then maybe I'll just write it up and post it at that point or for the next day and not have it like pre-planned really. But, to your question about the ideas, it's a really tough part, and it's probably the hardest part for a lot of people is coming up with what to post. It's very overwhelming to feel like if I'm going to post a few times a week,
Mhm.
how am I going to come up with stuff? And you sort of gotta trip over it. You gotta just try and fail a bunch of
Mhm.
times in the beginning, which everyone who started it on LinkedIn will have a bunch of posts that flop.
Mhm.
You just got to go through those.
Did you have that initial I don't want to say fear, but concern where it's like, what if I make this post and I only get like one like, or like, very little? Like, did you have that concern when you started posting?
I had the fear, I had the concern, and like the shame and everything that comes with it, and it actually came true. There were, there were posts in the beginning that had 2 likes, and that was, my cousin and my friend. Those 2 likes. Uh, I have a few friends that I'm thankful for till this day that they were consistently liking all my posts in the beginning, no matter how bad they were. But it definitely was a big, apprehension in the beginning, and it goes away over time, especially when you build engagement,
Mhm.
because the embarrassment goes away when there's actually engagement there.
Mhm. Which is similar to other forms of marketing and networking, right? It's like when you're constantly calling people or other forms of marketing, you eventually get used to those. And speaking of other forms, have you tried any other forms of marketing besides LinkedIn?
Not much, embarrassed to say to an extent. Um, LinkedIn has been really good to me, so I've been giving it the time that it wants,
Mhm.
and that's what I focus my marketing on because it works. I also utilize my natural market and networking, but I haven't used any other platforms, and I don't, use really any other methods
Mhm.
of marketing because I've been lucky enough, and I'm thankful for that, that LinkedIn has provided me with plenty.
And then you said time. So on average, how much time are you investing into LinkedIn, like per day or per week?
So I'll just preface by saying that not everyone has to do as much as I do. I do a couple hours a day
Mhm.
on LinkedIn total. That's between, my own posts, replying to the comments on my posts, messaging people, connecting with people, commenting on other people's posts on the feed. Between all that, I spend a couple hours, but it grew over time because it warranted it based on the results. For many people, they can do a half hour a day of focused engagement on the feed, looking at 10 posts, commenting on them, which is a big factor in LinkedIn growth. And even on their own posts, maybe not something we call babysitting the post, where right when you post it, you'll watch the post and reply to all the comments right away. It's not necessary for everyone. So many people can really utilize much less time and be very productive with it.
How impactful has it been? Like, what percentage of your current clients as of today came from LinkedIn?
I haven't done a check in a little while, but for a good year and a half, every single time I checked, it was hovering around 50% of the clients that I have.
And then let's just say, for example, I don't know if you have these metrics in place, but let's just say, for example, 10 people reach out to you on LinkedIn. They're interested in life insurance and they reach out to you. Approximately how many of those people will actually turn into clients?
So I don't have exact metrics, but as anyone in the industry will tell you, if someone reaches out to you wanting
Yeah.
wanting to buy, it's as hot as it can get.
Yeah.
So that's part of why I love the way it works, is that because they're inbound and they're
Mhm.
interested in talking about it, even if it's, they want to just get information for the future, uh, it's so much more pleasant in a way
Yeah.
because you're not dealing with chasing after people so much. So they convert at a very high rate compared to other methods of gaining leads.
Absolutely. And who are like your clients? Like, what are some patterns you're seeing, or like types of demographics you're seeing of people reaching out to you?
So I think I naturally attract young families
Mhm.
because that's where I fall into demographically, and also first-time policy buyers. It could be because the way I project myself and the way I utilize my posts is about like education on the specifics of life insurance, but more importantly, just the importance of it. So I do like my whole method is to convince people in a way through my posts subtly
Mhm.
that it's important to have it. So people who have it already, it doesn't really impact them, but many people who have been pushing it off for a long time, my posts are a trigger to finally call someone,
Mhm.
finally message someone. So that's the type of people it attracts.
Do you think people naturally have like a resistance, like a barrier to life insurance and financial services, to the products and the professionals?
I think you know the answer to that. Yeah, yeah. I'm aware of the the what's the word? Yeah, you're gonna have to cut this out. Aware of the stigma and the image that people have of this industry,
Mhm.
and I sort of play with it in the sense where I won't pitch anyone and I won't, chase anyone. And people expect it. Like I'll have conversations with people in real life, not on any platform, and they'll ask me what I do, and I'll tell them, and then I'll just steer the conversation back to them, and they're like
Mhm.
shocked, like I see it in their face. They're waiting for me to like say something about what I do, and like, oh, do you have life insurance? And I don't. So because I know the way people feel about it, I want to be like the opposite,
Mhm.
and it sort of attracts clients in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think once you say either insurance agent or financial advisor, they're thinking that you're going to
Yep.
say, can I take a look at your portfolio or your like current life insurance situation, like a lot of other insurance agents and financial advisors do? That's kind of like, if I don't want to say the names of the companies, but typically when you work at these companies, the first thing they train you on is go out, talk to people, ask them, and go right into the meetings. And obviously people have concerns about that. People have these natural barriers where they don't, it's not an easy thing to do. They're not buying a pair of shoes or clothes at a store. It's a commitment, and it's a sensitive topic, right? It's about protection for their families. And I think what you're doing is good because you're just planting the seeds. And if they're interested, there's a way they can reach out to you. They could message you. And speaking of that, so your posts, I'm assuming, are all over. They reach the entire country. There's really probably no geographic limitation. Does that mean you help clients in any state?
Yeah. So the way insurance licensing works for anyone who is not familiar is you get your resident license in the
Mhm.
state that you live in, and then you can get a non-resident license in any other state without a test. You need a test for your initial license, but then you just have to pay a fee to get it anywhere else.
Yeah.
So whenever something has come up, if someone reaches out to me in, any other, Florida, let's say, any other state, I could just apply for a license there, and then I'm good to go.
Mhm.
So I am licensed in, I think, 16 states right now, but I can be licensed in any state.
And do you plan on, since you already have a client base right now, or like a client base and a marketing base from LinkedIn, do you plan on transitioning that into another platform or method? Like, for example, you create webinars and then you could do email marketing from the email addresses you've gathered from the webinars. Other things that can move your LinkedIn client base and marketing base into other forms of marketing?
I know I should, but I haven't done anything yet. I can see long term definitely something, um, an email list or something like that, branching out. But as of now, I've been pretty, I'm still building my
Mhm.
own LinkedIn presence, and that, you know, is not ending anytime soon, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm still working on that, and we'll see where it takes me.
Yeah, and you're building it in an organic way, right? It's not like you're paying for ads and things like that. You're building it. And have you done any paid ads part in LinkedIn?
No, and that's the best part. I love the fact that I
Yeah,
haven't spent a penny on LinkedIn. I mean, I do pay for a premium
yeah.
subscription, which is a different conversation. If you want to go into that, we can. But for the most part, I haven't spent a penny. And every time I post, thousands of people see it. So that's thousands of, it's free advertising.
Yeah, yes.
And it's it's spread like you mentioned all over the country.
Mhm.
And I just post and it gets it all over.
So let's say, for example, somebody reaches out to you. What's the next step? Do you have like a Calendly page or some sort of appointment booking page or landing page to move into a conversation with them?
No, I'll usually just handle it one-on-one,
Mhm.
because like we said before, if they're asking about, the product specifically, it's pretty easy to get them into a conversation.
Mhm.
So I'll just be like, if I'm available then, if I'm answering the message, I'll be like, can you talk now? If not, let's set up a time
Mhm.
tomorrow. Can you, does this time work? Uh, it's, pretty smooth usually.
Okay. Then what do you, is it just life insurance you help with, or do you do like annuities and investment products?
So I do life, annuities, I do disability insurance, long-term care insurance. I don't really do investment products.
Mhm.
Um, Not so much my forte, not something I think I like so much. I enjoy the insurance topic and I enjoy talking about it with people. That whole outlook on protecting people and their families. And I think that's something I could stick with.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, it sounds like I could tell you're very like niche down. Like LinkedIn is the marketing method, the product's gonna be life insurance through New York Life. Like it's which is needed in the industry. It's like the same thing that, like in medicine, right? Like a doctor should specialize in one area. And it sounds like you're a specialist. And I like how that's the marketing approach you're taking is and I see that a lot of agents don't do that. A lot of agents don't even say they're life insurance agents. And you are saying it right on your LinkedIn title. It's, life insurance agent at New York Life. So I like that a lot. And do you think that that's how people should be? They should have niches, like specialties to focus on?
Yeah, it's a great point that you mentioned that I come out right and say
Hmm.
I'm a life insurance agent. In conversations, like when people ask me what I do, I say I sell life insurance.
Hmm.
I don't, there's so many different like creative, quote unquote, ways to say, I help protect families
Yeah.
or I help you, get more money when you need it most or whatever slogan people want to use.
Yeah.
And I feel like it just doesn't come off well it wouldn't come off well for me.
Hmm.
Maybe it works for other people, but like if I'm trying to hide what I do and then someone obviously figures out what I do, then they don't have a good feeling
Yeah.
because I wasn't being forthright with them. So I just say what I do, and it is specific. And like we said earlier, where I work a lot with first time policy buyers, it's just a natural market for me. And why not lean into that, right?
Yeah. So what are some of your goals for the future? What are some things you want to accomplish in the near future relevant to life insurance and marketing?
So the numbers wise, I don't have I probably wouldn't share the numbers
Yeah, yeah.
anyway, but I want to grow. Right now, I'm still building my business.
Mhm.
My goal has been in the beginning is not to focus so much on the money that's coming in, but to build as many clients as possible. So I'm focused a lot on volume. I try to get as many families and clients as possible,
Mhm.
and over time, that will build on itself if you build enough of a client base. And that's been my goal, and it's been going pretty well, thank God.
Mhm.
Uh, so that's still where I'm at the stage. And then there's in this industry, there's a there's like phases in a way, and then it starts building on itself. And so I'm still in the foundation phase.
So how can, actually, before I ask the last question is, have you ever thought about writing a book? If so, what would you write about?
No, I have not thought about writing a book, to be honest. Um, do I think it's the most ludicrous idea ever? No, could happen in the future. Part of why LinkedIn works for me is because I can write
Mhm.
pretty decently. It's a God-given gift. I take no credit for it, but writing is something I always loved. It was my favorite subject
Mhm.
in school, and so it can transition to that in the future. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what it would be about. Would it be about LinkedIn marketing? Would it be
Yeah.
about life insurance? Um, Maybe both. You know, I have
Yeah.
no idea, but it's a thought. You have someone to connect me with.
Yeah, I think I'm putting on my businessman hat right now, and I'm thinking like a lot of people would probably love to learn how to attract people on LinkedIn, which is why I wanted to do this episode with you. But also, I think like some a business tip, maybe having that as an additional service alongside life or just for the future. I don't know. I always think of like many different business ideas, and I think that would potentially be a good business idea.
Maybe. Well, speaking to what you just said, if anyone wants information, and I can share what I've done, and there's so much more to say. It's endless what I can say about LinkedIn and my experience. Anyone can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with them, try to figure out how it can work for them,
Mhm.
because everyone's so different, and my way won't be the way that other people do it.
Mhm.
Again, like you could observe the what I do and maybe like a specific aspect, and then figure out what works for yourself. But I'm happy to help anyone with it.
And how can listeners connect with you?
Through LinkedIn, my information's on there, my phone number's on there.
Mhm.
Don't spam me, please. Um, my email's on there. You can message me on LinkedIn. All those methods will, I'll respond hopefully at a pretty fast rate. And again, more than happy to help.
Yeah. And I'll be sure to add in all your links in the show notes below so people could just click and go right to your profile. Moshe, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and I'm looking forward to reconnecting with you in the future.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
To learn more about what we do and how we can help you grow more wealth, please visit www.finassetprotection.com. That's FIN assetprotection.com. The topics presented in this podcast are for general information only and not for the purposes of providing legal, accounting, or investment advice. On such matters, please consult a professional who knows your specific situation.